I'm Warren L. Lodholz, 207 Bayberry Lane, Farmington, Missouri. I was a tech sergeant in the Army Air Corps during World War II. I was in the headquarters squadron, 19th Air Depot Group, and served in North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, and Europe, France, Belgium, and Holland. After 9 months after receiving my greetings, you have been selected by your friends and neighbors. I was aboard the U.S. Santa Paula and a convoy of 30 ships to North Africa. Just outside the Straits of Gibraltar, our Navy ship sank one of the German U-boats that had been hounding us. After 11 days at sea, we landed at Oran, Algeria in darkness on June the 21st, 1943. We slept in pup tents in a dust bowl near slit trenches and dugouts for 40 days. We lived on sea rations, 6 cans per day, each about half the size of a soup can, 1 meat and beans, 1 stew, and 1 hash. The other 3 cans had crackers, powdered coffee, tea or lemonade, and a few pieces of hard candy. We were constantly swatting flies and mosquitoes. We took our daily Atabrin tablet, which was a substitute for quinine, with the water from the Lister bag. It's a big canvas bag out in the sun all day. Our outfit took over operation of Lasenia Air Base, mostly fighter squadrons and some bombers, from French, English, Canadian, and South African. It's a beautiful sight to see the French come in on flying armed P-39 fighters do a victory roll over the field after a kill. Our men in the towers who couldn't speak French going crazy because French flew in against the traffic, We survived the usual air raids, especially after the Sicilian invasion. Sometimes, despite the fear, it was comical. Usually about 3 o'clock in the morning when the snitcher went off, you would hear 16 GIs in a room in an old French barracks, all bailing out under mosquito nettings in the darkness, grabbing their helmets, rifles, and gas masks and bumping into others, dropping a helmet, and lots of cussing, especially at the Germans who interrupted our sleep. Then they run like hell to the slit trenches and dugouts, which invariably had 6 inches of mud. I had the extra duty of racing to the orderly room and yanking the field telephone off the wall and taking it to the dugout. I was spurred on by the noise from the ack-ack guns, the fighter planes scrambling and explosions, 20 to 30 fingers of searchlights raking the sky, the sausage barrage balloons, all made for sights and sounds to remember. Another beautiful sight was the 3 waves of 90 to 100 each of B-24 and B-25 bombers from the United States, which refueled at our field en route to the oil fields in Romania. President Trump was put on a plane at our field after arriving in Oran on battleship Georgia. He was en route to conference with Churchill and Stalin. First time we discovered he was in a wheelchair. Other North African memories, the insistent rainy seasons, where it rained for 3 months, the torrid Sirocco season, when the winds changed and blew from the Sahara Desert to the Mediterranean. The temperatures were like 102 to 104 almost every day. The locust plagues, which darkened the sky with millions of locusts and grounded our plains. They'd sweep down onto a field and wipe it out in seconds. The Arab workers who were in the fields would grab them up by the handsful and eat them. The bubonic plague epidemics, when everything was off limits, and how homesick we GIs were to be away from our 2nd and 3rd Christmas. Our friendly drinking sessions with the French Foreign Legion. They filled your canteen cups with their sour wine. The loss of a load of C-47 our supply squadron buddies who went down the Mediterranean. Also my radio operator friend for whom I had to file a missing in action report. I flew to Rome and the Isle of Capri for a week of R&R. The Germans were just north of Rome. I saw Pope Pius II in the Vatican. I rode into Rome on the back of a weapons carrier which were towed by another weapons carrier. And we found out that the field had been abandoned. There was nobody there where we landed. We left North Africa in February 1945 on Liberty ship USS Asa Gray, along with a contingent of Senegalese troops who played their flutes and smoked hashish. They carried their long knives. Our commanding officer would not let us go up on deck after dark due to these Senegalese troops with the long knives. We climbed down the nets to land at bombed out harbor in Marseille, France. After 20 months in warmer North Africa, we nearly froze when we camped in a pup tents on the mountain above the harbor. We were given K rations, which were, they were squad rations is what they were. And first time we'd have those. We didn't have too good a ration. The first night we were greeted with a bombing raid on the harbor below. 2 nights later we left Marseille, France at midnight on the old 6-car French train. 2 machine gunners were on top. There was much shooting in the rail yard from German sympathizers. 2 days later we arrived at Nancy, France, rail yard at dark. A hospital train, clearly marked with red crosses, also pulled in. It was all shot up from the German strafing. We went by truck convoy to Essy Airfield, 20 miles from the front, just recently taken over from the Germans. Most buildings were half shells from U.S. bombing raids. Booby traps were everywhere. Shiny German helmets left on the walls, ready to blow your head off if you picked it up. And the land mines were near the latrines. There's a board, you step on that, you blow yourself and others away. And the mines were only cleared 3 feet from each side of the road. We had to detonate unexploded bombs on the field before it was operational. Our outfit was now part of the 9th Tactical Air Force, which supported General Patton's Rhineland crossing and his drive into Central Europe. A tank graveyard at the end of the airfield was evidence of heavy losses Patton took before making a breakthrough, especially around Metz. One burned out tank I saw contained the stub of a GI's leg and foot still in the shoe. Weather permitting, our fighters flew around the clock with napalm bombs, coming back only for more fuel and ammunition. This schedule was maintained until the end of the war. I saw Paris, Luxembourg, and Bastogne before leaving Antwerp, Belgium on the USS India Victory for the return to the United States in July. One of the greatest thrills was to see the neon lights in New York after living in blackout areas for over 2 years. I was sent to Spokane, Washington to prepare the outfit for going to the Pacific when the A-bombs caused the end of the war. 3 battle campaign stars, the Sicilian and Rhineland crossing and Central Europe, helped me to get discharged in October. I was one of the lucky ones to come home all in one piece. These memories are just the tip of the iceberg of some of my memories of over 3 years in World War II at the prime of my life.
How old were you when you went?
I was, when I landed in June, I was 21.
21.
Yeah. A shipment of cups and sticks of bologna from the United States. That was amazing, you know. And we had Italian prisoners of war working in our mess hall. And one of our guys came in half stewed, half drunk, I guess, got his rifle, went over there and held up the mess to people for a stick of that bologna.
Wish you had that.
I do.
Good.
So this question is, what was the drafting process like, and how old were you when you were drafted?
When I was drafted, I was, I think 20 to 21, you know. And I worked at my first job, I graduated out of high school in Bonne Terre in 1938. And after high school, I got a job working for a filling station, broader service station for $7 a week, you know. And I worked there for a while, and bookkeeping didn't take long, but mostly wound up changing oil on cars and stuff like that. So I quit that job and went to work for a plumber for $9 a week, and I saved up my money until the following year. I'd saved up none. I went to the Flat River Junior College, you know, for a year and a half after that. I was the only boy and took shorthand, and all the rest were girls. So, but they needed a man, stenographers, secretary up to the State Reformatory in Jefferson City, Missouri. So they interviewed me up for that, and I went up to work the following week, and I worked up there until I was drafted to the Army. that shorthand got me in a lot of trouble, though, especially when I was in North Africa, because when they have courts-martial, the adjutant general looked through all the records, and I found out that I was the only one in the whole base. There were about 3,000 men who took shorthand. So they got me then for whenever they had courts-martials, and you know, just like a regular court reporter, I had to be there and take all the testimony down and write a shorthand book full in about 2 days, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So my next question is, how was the journey to the area where you served? What was it like?
How was the what?
The journey to the area you served. What was it like?
The journey to there?
Yes, sir.
Well, I never realized there was so much more water on this land than there is, more water in the world, on the earth, than there is land, you know. Because like traveling 11 days to North Africa, there is water, 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 you know. So I found out that that's one thing that made me impressed, you know. The habitat of the people down there in Africa is terrible. The Arabs, any scrap of paper or cardboard or anything, they'd grab it. They'd use it to try to build a home or something like that. There was just a lot of just desolate people. We'd go to our mess kits. After we had to eat our mess, we'd go out and there's a garbage can there. There'd always be an Arab there with a can or something asking for, you know, anything left. Instead of pouring it in the garbage can, pour it in his can so he could take it back to his family. They had very hard food, you know.
Okay, so what was it like being and living in North Africa? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the conditions of the people there were either very rich or very poor, you know. And the poor people had nothing. And Oran is a very big city of 100,000 people. The Opera House was the biggest building there, and I got to go see a lot of operas, cause the bus sergeant and he were friends with a girl that sang in the opera, and I got to meet her sister, which was a little ballet dancer in the opera there. So we'd go to see a lot of different operas, like the Carmen and a whole bunch of them. I forgot, man, La Traviata. I can't remember all of them, but you didn't have very much social thing with the girls over there. They showed us too many movies about diseases and stuff you didn't want to associate with. So, we did have at the camp, they'd have dances like maybe Friday nights. They'd go take the trucks into town and they'd pick up the people to come in for the dance, the girls, you know, but they'd bring their kids and their grandmas and everybody else with them, you know, because they'd get food, you know. We had, after the dance, they served food, you know, so that was good for a good relationship for the people there too.
Awesome. So a second ago you were telling me about how you and your friend were doing something in a plane that you weren't supposed to.
Oh, yeah. And we dived down toward this herd of sheep down there, and the sheep had just scattered everything, and then this poor shepherd there, the Arab shepherd, he's shaking his stick at us, you know. So that wasn't very good. I've had.
So you were making all the sheep run away?
I got to ride in McLean's when my radio operator friend, he was with two other pilots, and their plane got shot down over the Mediterranean, and the other two pilots were able to save themselves, but the radio operator friend, Steve, was real stormy, and then he drowned, you know. They never did find him, so after 30 days I had to file a missing in action file for him to send it in, you know. And these pilots, they made the report for them, so they said they wanted to reward me for that. So they took me in the plane ride. It was a B-25 with the noses right up in front, the glass plexiglass. You look right straight out and down. So we flew it all along the Mediterranean coast. And you could see all the ships that had been sunk there and everything. And it was quite a friend. And then when I flew to Rome on this resuscitation and you know, repair flight, you know, R&R they call it. Flew in a C-47 from North Africa to Tunisia, and then from Tunisia I took another C-47 to Rome. But on the way back from Rome, we flew back in a B-17 bomber, and they were doing a flight, altitude test, flying real high, which is real cold, you know. So the pilot made us put on our Mae West, you know, it's a vest, you know, for water, you know, in case you go down the water, inflate the lead vest. Then you had your parachute on it behind, and had that. Still cold when you're up there. You're going flying at 14,000 feet, you know. But he said when we landed in Tunisia coming back that night, he said the engineer said we only cleared the fence about 3 feet high, you know. So that was good to know.
That was close.
Where to go?
Okay. So
Doctor's appointment.
one question a lot of people were wondering, myself included, was, what were the hardships you faced and which took the biggest toll on you?
Well, I guess the biggest hardships we faced were the rations and food, and it was terrible. Like I say, one time the Surgeon General said our rations should be outlawed, you know, because we were getting fish and chips, things from England, which the English would like, but we didn't like them then. So, and other hardships we faced were the monotony of being there and not getting any. You didn't get any first mail for about 3 months after you're over there, you know. And then after that, your mail maybe came once a month or something like that. You just don't know what's going on back home, and you know what I'm saying, and you have no idea, you know. It's not like today, you know.
Again.
I said the closest I guess I could got it one time was we went swimming out in the Mediterranean about 10 miles down the coast there, and all of a sudden we heard the air raid sirens go off in our ran over there. And we could hear a plane up there and see it up there, and so we got out of the water and went off. There's a road there. We went over to the other side of the road, got down in the ditch down there, and all of a sudden there's a big explosion in the water out there, and the geyser of water went up about 100 feet in the air, and you could hear the shrapnel just like zzz, just go over your head there, you know. If you had it hit you, it cut you in two, you know. So I guess that was the closest one that I ever got there, that I know of, you know.
So what is one thing that you would want your generation to let my generation know?
I think you should know that all the people who are fighting for you in the military are sacrificing their lives, and that when you sign things there, you sign something that you will come back in a box with a flag draped over you, for you know, for your purposes, you know. So I want the people in the United States to appreciate more what the military is doing for them, and honor them more or less.
So what is your opinion on the people who have been kneeling during the national anthem?
The national anthem should be honored every time it's heard or played, you know. It's the people who desecrate the national anthem have no place in this country, I'd say. Every morning I get out there and I salute the flag like this. I pledge allegiance to the flag, you know, every morning I go out the door there. And these football players and stuff, I don't know, they make millions of dollars for just a show of force out there. The poor GIs over there working in Africa and all, in Afghanistan and all over the world, wherever they are, they're not making any kind of money compared to those athletes, super athletes, they think, and they don't have it. They're not worthy of it.
Thank you. So, how did it feel once the war was over?
Well, came home, you just kind of lost for a while. You didn't know what to do, you know. I was fortunate that I got to go with my, like say, the short ends part of it. I got to go to work with the St. Joseph Lead Company right away as a secretary there to the in the legal department. But it's just take a long time before you get acclimated again to what it's like with the people over here after being over there like 2.5 years or 3 years away in service, you know. It's hard to get back adjusted.
So, what is the greatest lesson you learned while you were fighting for us?
Well, the greatest lesson I guess to learn is the United States of America is a republic, and we have to keep it that way. If we go to some of these other politics and stuff, so it goes like to be a socialist or something. You go the way of Venezuela did, and you go the way of Argentina. They all got nothing there anymore. So you have to do what you were fighting for in North Africa. That's what I look at it.
Share with me your best memory.
Well, I guess the best memories I have are it's hard to say, you know. The association, we were like what they call a band of brothers, you know. We lay down our lives for each other, you know. It was, actually, when we left each other and left, I actually broke down and cried, you know. Couldn't have left because I knew I'd never see half of them again in my life, you know. Because they wouldn't come. Some of them wouldn't come to the reunions, you know. We did have Air Force reunions up in Dayton, Ohio, and I made about 8 or 10 of those, Mary Lou, my wife and I, you know. But that's it, I guess.